targeting of commercial shipping, endangering civilian crew, impeding freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz are unacceptable. International law in this regard must be fully respected. Open and predictable trade flows must be preserved and fragmentation avoided. Coordinated efforts are needed to stabilize energy markets and support countries facing external and fiscal pressures. This crisis underscores the importance of combining immediate response with long-term transformation. Thank you for convening this special meeting in accordance with ECOSOC's mandate on a global crisis with huge economic implications for countries of the Global South due to impacts on energy, food and fertilizer security, supply chain disruptions, inflation, and constraints on growth. The Reserve Bank of India has assessed the impact of the West Asia conflict on the Indian economy as follows. First, elevated crude oil prices leading to increasing imported inflation and widening current account deficit. Second, a disruption in energy markets, fertilizers and other commodities adversely impacting industry, agriculture and services, reducing domestic output. Third, heightened uncertainty, increasing risk aversion and safe haven demand impacting domestic liquidity, economic activity, consumption and investment. Fourth, weaker global growth dampening external demand and reducing remittance flows. And finally, the initial supply shock having the possibility to transform into a demand shock over the medium term, sourcing and demand side measures, cushioning households from price shocks, supporting critical sectors such as fertilizers and pharmaceuticals, and maintaining financial stability through proactive liquidity management. Trade facilitation has also been introduced to support exporters and ensuring continuity in logistics and supply chains. Over the medium term, the focus must shift to resilience. This includes diversifying import sources, strengthening domestic production in critical sectors, and building strategic buffers. It also requires improving infrastructure, logistics, and initiating economic reforms. The private sector plays a central role in responding to these disruptions. Firms are at the forefront of adapting supply chains and managing risks. Governments must therefore enable them through access to finance, regulatory predictability, and efficient trade and logistics systems. Mr. President, at the international level, cooperation is indispensable. Targeting of commercial shipping, endangering civilian crew, impeding freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz are unacceptable. International law in this regard must be fully respected. Open and predictable trade flows must be preserved and fragmentation avoided. Coordinated efforts are needed to stabilize energy markets and support countries facing external and fiscal pressures. Strengthening multilateral financial support mechanisms will also be critical in this regard. Finally, this crisis underscores the importance of combining immediate response with long-term transformation. Carefully designed policies, particularly those that address structural bottlenecks and market failures, can enhance resilience and sustain growth over time. India remains fully committed to working with all partners to advance collective and practical solutions.